about the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers. I had to remember which show I was doing. Episode 767, The Marvelous. The Marvelous sounds like they should be like an all-girl Motown group.
Oh, I was like, well, you're half right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just the all-girl part.
I'm glad you've already addressed my issue with the film.
Not enough singing?
Yeah.
There are.
Well, okay, both of my issues with the film.
Trust me, there was enough singing.
So I guess let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Matt.
And this is Tom. Kevin's out this week with a sick child. So
I was like making salsa.
yeah,
But,
making salsa.
yeah.
He's out on maternity leave. No, I don't know.
Paternity leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. He's out.
That's fair.
So I guess before we dig in, let's do some shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeart, TuneIn. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. Super helpful. Greatly appreciated. You can also find us on the Facebook at facebook.com/real spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. If you want to help out, a free and easy way you can do it is by sharing an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode this week include Librarian Cynthia, Jason Weesey, Chris Falls, Tom Dowdy, Julianne Jordan, Gabriel Lugo, Ralph Tribble, Chris Magic Man, Heather Sachs, Taylor Ward, Invasion of the Remake, James Install, The Film Bee, Feel and Film, Spoiler Piece Theater, Ronnie Castle, Geek to Me Radio, Colby Mack, In Session Film, Ryan Terry, Binge Movies, Matt Naglia, Mike, and Oscar, and Nostalgia Cast. So you can also find us on Patreon at patreon.com/real spoilers, where for $5 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content. You get even more of Matt.
That's right. It's a horror movie podcast.
Me and Joe's horror movie.
That's right. That's right.
And we like you extra.
We do.
So also you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/theclipout, where apparently we
The clip out?
See?
Son of a bitch.
God dang it.
Any chance he gets.
Yeah. YouTube.com/real spoilers.
Yeah.
Or sorry,
The OG.
/real spoilers.
Oh, God.
You gotta do that.
Yeah.
That's so annoying.
Yeah. So I heard we had a kerfluffle in our comments.
Not really a kerfluffle. It's just I tweeted this morning. I was like, of all the dumb things that I've said on this podcast, never once did I think that saying that Elvis Presley was a pedophile is the one that was going to get me lit up. Our YouTube comments have exploded.
Because he's an ephebophile.
What is that?
Well, it's post-puberty, but
Oh,
not
yes, that's true.
It's
because
not actually.
Yes.
She has matured.
Correct.
But she is not legally of age.
not really something I would want to get into.
Yeah,
the minutia of
Yes,
what that.
the,
Yeah.
the nuance of your inappropriate sexual attraction.
It's crazy. Definitely victim blaming of Priscilla, and it's unbelievable that I have to be like, I cannot believe that this is the thing that is going to get me, people just like, you're wrong. And who's the real groomer? Is it the parents or is it Elvis? It's like both. I don't know what to tell you.
Like, we gotta pick one.
Yeah, I know.
Who's the real monster?
I've got room in my heart to be mad at both of them.
Yes, correct.
Yes,
that's what's happening over there right now.
Gotcha.
So great.
I will avoid that.
Please do.
Yes.
Yeah. It's funny to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess there's all that. Let's dig in.
I can't remember the last time ever with a Marvel movie where there wasn't, for me at least, some level of excitement. Like
Like going in or watching?
both.
Okay.
You were on the Quantum Mania episode.
Yeah, but those
so I don't understand.
but like those first two Ant-Man movies are a lot of fun. And
Yes,
that
sure.
last one wasn't a lot of fun.
Right.
It had moments. I like Paul Rudd, and this is the first time I remember being like, well, let's see what they do, I guess.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised.
I enjoyed this movie.
I liked it a lot. There's a couple beats that are,
this is not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination. I think I think Marvel is struggling with it starting to collapse under its own weight. There's a lot of backstory they need to feed you. I feel like they fed it to you pretty quickly, pretty
I
efficiently.
think they did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah,
here.
but it's getting to be a lot, and they're running into the same problem that the comic books themselves had, right? Like storylines had gotten so long and so convoluted, and that it was turning off new readers.
Yeah, you couldn't jump into Uncanny X-Men 342
Right.
and have any idea what's going on.
Right.
Because there's a massive story. And you're not wrong. And it's
Yeah.
interesting that Marvel is currently encountering this and DC is about to relaunch and maybe fix their problems.
Boy, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think James Gunn was the right guy to pick.
Yeah.
I think people are a little bit exhausted, and I don't know if they want to go on the ride again.
I think to that though, I think if it's good, this won't be an issue. I mean, the way he's pacing it, you're gonna have like two animated show, or you're gonna have the Creature Commandos, the Waller show, and then I think we go into Superman. So I do think
That sounds bad.
I don't know, like
A thing I've never heard of and a character no one else has ever heard of, and then Superman.
I think maybe,
I've got to watch these two things already.
but I don't think you do though. Like I think that Superman is gonna be, he knows, right? Like James Gunn knows that they can't screw this up. Like that Superman movie,
I've seen him do it.
James, that's true. So I do think that they know that Superman movie needs to work and needs to be good. Otherwise, they're dead in the water.
I do. James Gunn doesn't seem to have much of an interest in like having the Guardians of the Galaxy all that tied in.
No,
Like
he was able to
volume
do his own
3
three.
wasn't that. You know,
No.
maybe had the least ties to everything else
I think that's probably
of
true.
any of the later movies.
It's the advantage of the cosmic stuff, like this. Like it's not really tied into, anything
So yeah,
besides.
it seems like maybe he would know to stay away a little bit.
Yeah, just do your own thing. But let's throw in the Green Lantern and Metamorpho and Mr. Terrific. It's like, all right, bud, God damn it.
Now I, famously, it's my whole thing. You guys have me on this show. I watch 9 movies to prepare.
Oh boy.
And,
You watch all 32 movies and
I-
15 television
WandaVision.
shows?
and-
I thought I said, well, I haven't seen Miss Marvel. I'll watch it. And then I thought, no, I won't.
It's a hot take. It's a good story.
and I wouldn't have had time anyway. But I did think, well, that I would never go into a movie like this without watching everything.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like, we're behind on American Horror Story.
Oh,
by like
so am I.
a season, but I won't watch the new one until I watch the one before it, even though they're not
It's an anthology. It doesn't
connected.
matter. Right.
I can't do it. But I thought, well, that might be a.
My mom, I used to make fun of my mom for that. She would read the paper every day, and they would stack up by her bed. And if she didn't, she would read them in chronological order
Oh, no.
as if it was a
That's
soap opera.
very
So if
funny.
she fell behind on the news, she would have to read like the paper from 3 days ago, then the paper from 2 days ago. She couldn't just pick up today's paper and move forward.
You'd-
and I'm
you'd
just
say-
like, but you've lived in the
Yeah,
world.
right.
Oh, did you hear about
Walter,
that?
Walter
that-
Cronkite told us.
There's a car crash today on the. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Right.
Spoilers.
So I was curious, sort of, or maybe perhaps I constructed this idea in my head when I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch it, and wanted to pretend like it was on purpose. Maybe it would be interesting to see one of these movies without.
Let's test
thing.
them
Yeah.
to see.
How did that go?
There were definitely moments where I went, "What?" So hold on, what does the band do?
Wait, did you watch WandaVision?
I did.
Okay,
I did see
okay,
WandaVision, but when she took off the band in the end of the movie and was still using her powers, and I'm going like, wait, hold on, wait.
So I think, because I also didn't. I started Miss
Called a
Marvel.
Bangle.
What I call it?
It's called the quantum band, but she calls it a bangle.
They call it a bangle.
They do.
I like the Bengals.
No, they're good.
I respect her cultural heritage.
That's fair.
Unlike you.
I'm just saying what they also called it in the movie.
And I call it a bangle.
The big long bracelet, right?
Yes. I think in the show, if I remember right, now spoilers for the show if you haven't seen it, I'm pretty sure she's a mutant.
Yes, that's my research is
Okay.
post movie has led me to believe that
So
the bangle activated her X gene, and
that is correct. But
And-
they couldn't
and-
call it
and-
the X gene forever.
Right. And they don't address her being a mutant until like almost the last line of the series.
right.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yes.
people in the comments and threads and stuff seem to be saying like she just kind of says it at the end. It's not like a big part of the movie, but then the show. But it did make me wonder though why they knew the bad lady wanted the other bangle. Why didn't she just like leave it at home? She doesn't need
Well,
it. It doesn't
she
do
is-
anything.
It still gives her something though, right? Like it's
I don't know.
So I think it's the one that generated the light like discs that she would jump off of and stuff like that. Like the big fists.
That's
and
her.
That's her.
Now, again, none of this is all that important, but I did have a moment in the movie where she took it off or whatever,
Yeah.
and was doing stuff, and I went, "Well, hold on, wait, what?" And in a movie, even that like brief moment of that
yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's an interesting point though, because Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't really, to your point, like factor into the
Right.
stuff that's happening on Earth, right? And in Far From Home, you've got, Peter Parker interacting with Doctor Strange, and you've got all these different characters on Earth. But when you're in space, like that's always been my draw of the cosmic side of Marvel is even when they were doing Civil War, Secret Invasion, like the Guardians of the Galaxy book was still just doing their own thing because it didn't matter. So I felt like with this one, I was like, okay, we're not tied into Thanos. We're not dealing with the blip. We're not dealing with any of that shit. But
then you do.
But then you do.
Yeah.
Which they work it in there in a way I was like, okay, like that makes sense.
I like the way they've worked in the blip throughout these other
Right.
movies in terms of like people, it would have a very real effect on your life.
Sure.
Like you can't just be like, oh, it's been 5 years, everybody's back, hooray, happy
Right.
ending. Like that's not a happy ending. Like, I mean, it's great that your loved ones are back, but there's going to create a lot of problems, right? Like estates have been distributed.
Oh,
Your
yeah,
wife
right.
is now married to somebody else.
Right. And like your home is gone.
Your
Like,
kids are 5 years older.
yeah, like like there's no getting your house back. You lost your job. Like
Yeah.
like there would be so many issues.
In Monica's case, her mom dies.
Her mom dies while she's gone.
Yeah.
Like, and she totally misses it. Like, yeah. So
Monica's thing about Captain Marvel not being around,
It was
that's insane. That is
It's one of those tropes that I think we've talked about where it's like, if you just have a conversation
yeah,
where Carol
it's like
says,
they just
hey,
needed conflict.
she's
yeah.
saying like whole planets of people needed me and I saved their lives, and she's like,
Not good enough.
I was sad.
say, I needed
But
you.
I was sad. I needed my aunt. Like I feel like as an adult woman now, you could understand a little bit.
If Monica's 17, 16, I get that argument.
Yeah.
But at Monica
will
at
say
30,
it does also kind of explain why she doesn't pop up during Infinity War until the very end.
oh, sure. Yeah.
Because
Oh, another thing about not seeing Miss Marvel. When they're showing all these flashbacks of Captain Marvel, Carol destroying the
Supreme Intelligence.
Yeah, I'm like, that was in that show, I guess. But
so I don't
think
think it was.
not. No,
No,
she was only in the show for the only time you see her in the show is what you see in the movie is when she just pops
Ports
up
into the room.
into her bedroom.
That must have been maybe a cut scene because, I mean, she's wearing the full, like, Captain Marvel, the helmet, the whole shebang. So I don't know if maybe that was a cut scene from Captain Marvel, the first one, or if that was filmed for this, because at the end of that movie, she does say, like, I'm going to, because she fights off Annette Bening, and
she said she's going to destroy
the whole thing.
And
then
it's weird. So it's weird to be watching a thing and then be like, well, I don't know how much I've missed now.
Right.
yeah,
And then another it's starting to make for really bad dialogue because you only get so many times that you can go like, well, you were away for 5 years because of the blip. And, and you go, and it's like these shortcuts to just sort of like fill people in. But then in a movie like this, you also have dialogue like, if the polarities of your powers are reversed,
there was a lot of
shot
science
into me, then that should cause the rift to close exponentially. And it's just, the whole movie to me is just sort of packed with this sort of like, I don't know how this stuff works, but you'll just tell me right before you do the thing.
Right. I did like that scene though, where Monica kind of explains what they need to do, and both Carol and Kamala look at her like, what? And she was like, just shoot me with your energy.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay.
I mean,
we
these
got
movies
that.
always kind of revolve around. I have this crazy experimental theory that there's no way to test or even know for sure if it's right. I just kind of got a hunch.
And we gotta wing it.
We've got 15 minutes left in this movie.
But now we're layering one type of thing on top of another thing of like catching everyone up and explaining all the things, and I don't know. I didn't like it.
You know what? I do think that this walks a very fine line.
Yeah.
I think there's two scenes that I'm just like, man, if you aren't into this, you are gonna hate this movie. And it's the training montage, and then it's the singing planet.
And I loved both of those.
Did you?
I thought the
did.
training montage was so fun. Well, I was talking to someone about the movie. I was saying like, Marvel movies to me, or action movies in general, sort of. We've seen action movies are
A dime a dozen.
done. We've done all of it, right? So almost all action movies have to be like, it's an action movie, but
Sure,
and
right.
here's our thing.
Here's your hook to level up this action.
Santa Claus is a Viking.
Ant-Man gets small, right? Like you go like, I don't want to see another. Well, he gets small. That might be fun. Oh, it's Thomas the Tank Engine. That's fun. And I guess this one was the switching thing. Was
It was a
like
body switch.
The body swap stuff.
Yeah.
interesting part of it, which I didn't understand how that worked. I didn't know that flying wasn't a power.
It's not a power?
It doesn't make him switch.
Oh, I think what made them switch is when they used the light power.
Sure,
And they had to use it at the same time.
Right.
Which I also didn't.
I didn't pick
know
up on
for
that
a
until the
long
very end.
Time.
Yeah.
The beginning, I would say the first quarter of this movie is edited very strangely. When the first time they all switch, and then they're all back.
Yeah.
Like the little kid comes running in, she's like at her house, and I'm like, but you're in outer space, so we missed
just
a whole
happened?
thing where Fury brought you home, or. And I'm not saying I want that. Like, I'm dying to see that scene. It was just like a jump that
Yeah.
I did. It took me a minute to
I
go.
I
okay.
I listened to Jason on Binge Movies do like a quick reaction to this, and he did have a good point where he said it does feel like Marvel or Disney wanted this to be 2.5 hours, and I feel like maybe Nia DaCosta was like, why? Like, we can do this in 2 hours. Like, we can do this in an hour
I
and 50.
think the runtime is a benefit.
I agree.
I agree.
100%.
This movie,
If this had been 2.5 hours, oh boy.
Yeah.
And I think you're probably right. It was written or shot to be 2.5 to 3 hours, and then I mean, I think in that case they made the right call after that. But there was some strange.
There are some
editing,
weird cuts.
and quick, and just kind of like. You're filling in a lot of space and time.
In my head.
Yeah.
And I will say one of the things that I think Brie Larson is a fantastic actress. She is when she's on point, and she is insanely good. This I feel like she was done a disservice in the first Captain Marvel because she wasn't given any personality. She was just this badass fighter that never really went anywhere. I think I like the moment in Endgame when Peter's got the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Peter," and she has a very tender moment with him where she's like, "Hey, Peter, like, can I have that?" And he was like, "Sure," and she just and then in this one, I do feel like they gave her something to do.
Yeah.
They let her be Carol Danvers and vulnerable, but also trying to have like that tough exterior. So like I was into that. Where I was like, okay, this is the character that I've been wanting to see.
Right.
It just took us
For me, this
5 appearances
The
to get
ultimate
there.
saving grace of this movie is Kamala Khan.
She absolutely is.
Kamala Khan is great.
Yes.
And that actress is doing so much stuff that I don't think is on the page that she's just bringing to
Oh,
it.
sure.
Her reaction, like not dialogue, but if you watch her while other things are happening, she is always doing something.
I think there's a reason she's the lead in a certain post-credit sequence.
For sure. Like
Yeah.
she was great. And like I watched Miss Marvel. I liked it. I didn't love it. I thought when
It was quirky enough.
I liked that stuff and I liked her when those 2 episodes where they go to India with
the flashbacks?
Yeah, were just a slog for
Yeah.
me. Like I just didn't care. But in their defense, I'm also a racist.
Sure.
But I was like, that was a slog. And then when it came back around and back to the present day, I was on board again. And
Sure.
so I thought she was great in this role.
Yeah,
I worry for it long term because that enthusiasm works because she's new to the world and she's seeing it with fresh eyes. 4 movies from now, I don't know what this character does.
She'll be Peter Parker.
Yeah.
I that's what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
remember when he first shows up, he's
Yeah.
enamored with everything that's happening around him. He's looking up to Tony, and he's the thing with Captain America where he's like, "Hey, big fan. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to do that." But by the time we get to the end of Far From Home, he's a different character. And I've seen this complaint where it's like, is anybody else tired? Like by the end of the movie of her like the hero worship, and it's just like, no,
No, I thought
but
it was
like
cute. I thought it totally made sense.
Peter did it to Tony.
Yeah.
Kate did it to Clint.
And you see her starting to establish a non-hero worship relationship
Yeah.
with her.
Yeah.
You know?
And I do like that even Carol has a moment where she's like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry I was kind of to you.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't fair." And they have that really nice moment.
I didn't know what she was talking about. And then I was like, oh, when she was going to get smashed by rocks and you said, hey, we got to leave.
And you were like, hey, don't get smashed.
Right.
Well, but she was like, we have to save all these people. And Carol had to make the choice of like,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to save all these people.
Right.
Also, they're not really people.
I guess that's true.
I'm also an alien racist, just to be clear.
Speciesist.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me feel like there was like a cut thing where they get back on the ship and Carol's like, you can't do
Like,
that.
you
You're
get a little
crap."
bit more of that
Yeah,
than just
yeah, yeah.
one, like, snapped at her.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, that's another thing where I think you have to go, oh, I
Yeah.
guess
Something
there was
must have
more.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I enjoyed the movie. It's not a perfect movie. I think all the things you're pointing out are fair.
It's one of the better ones they've put out
The
recently.
other stuff outweighed it.
I agree.
To me, and like the funny beats, the how they escape on the pod, like
Oh yeah, I do worry. You know, when James Gunn does Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one,
yeah,
there is an influx of James Gunn-ness to the rest of the MCU. Mm-hmm. I'm a little worried that Taika Waititi has kind of taken that role where I don't think Ragnarok has.
So what you're saying is you are in favor of gun control.
Absolutely. Big time. Big time.
Post that on a Zack Snyder thread. Oh, God. You're going to be a hero.
And I think Ragnarok is one of the best ones they've ever done. As far as like the Marvel tier, A+. I think Love and Thunder is a mess.
Yeah,
And I
there
worry.
were things I liked, but
Absolutely.
it did not. It was trying too hard.
Yes.
it was the Jay Leno of Marvel movies.
That's a great point. And the scene, I can appreciate that it's an alien world and you can do whatever you want. There's no rules.
Right.
But I was like, oh God, like please dial back the Taika Waititi in this scene. Now the scene we're talking about is basically what's happened is since Carol has destroyed the Supreme Intelligence, she has basically doomed all of Hala, which is where the Kree live. They have no water. The air is unbreathable. And
Which, to be fair to Carol, they got into a civil war. Right? She didn't directly do any of that.
no, I think by destroying the Supreme Intelligence,
They didn't.
oh, I see what you're
They
saying.
didn't know how to like govern themselves, was my understanding, and they got into a civil war, and
with
they
the
caused
Skrulls.
all these. Maybe, or it might have just been with the Kree.
With the Kree themselves. I think it was the Skrulls because
but if you have a civil war with another country, that's just a war.
I guess that's true. I see what you're saying.
Civil war
It's a
is
good
supposed
point.
to be. I mean, all I know is what I learned from that Guns N' Roses song. But I don't want no civil war.
It's a good song.
Yeah,
I like that song.
although some days I kind of do.
There are times.
Yeah, and then I'm like, well, I might be on board.
Just as long as
We win.
Thank you.
Yeah.
God forbid the other way wins.
Oh goodness.
So basically, what the new accuser, which I'm almost positive that this woman and Lee Pace, who played Ronan the Accuser, are like a couple in real life. So I do think that's kind of funny that they're both like, yeah, I'll take that hammer with the not Power Stone in it. So she is going after planets and people that Carol values, right? So she goes after the world where the Skrulls have set up life. And I feel like every time we see the Skrulls, I'm just like, well, there's 3 million more dead. Like, how many more of these poor bastards are we going to lose?
Well, and they're saying, like, we have nowhere else to go or whatever. And it truly looks like we're down to 150.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know.
And, yeah, I watched 75 of them get smashed by
That's what I'm
rocks.
saying.
So.
There's Secret Invasion, which has even more Skrulls in it, which I did actually really like. That was a fun little, like, Marvel show that wasn't really tied into anything.
Yeah.
But I did like this part where Tessa Thompson shows up, as we know that she is now the king, I think she is the king of Asgard. And there's a moment in this where it's like, you are right there. You're right there, hinting at the relationship between Monica Rambeau's mom and Carol.
Yeah, I really thought that they were going to solidify
And
that.
then with Valkyrie and Carol, and I was like, that they're a couple.
Friends or roommates? Or what?
Totally roommates. Best friends. Yeah,
Cool.
BFFs.
Like Laverne and Shirley.
Like
Love
Laverne
that.
and Shirley.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's a part of me says, you don't need to hammer it home, but another part of me is like, confirm it.
Right.
Just
Right.
do it. You
Well,
know?
do it the way you would have done it with a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like, and if you're saying that Valkyrie and Carol are this on again, off again thing because Valkyrie has a kingdom to worry about, Carol's off in space, I'm cool with that. But just do it. Don't hint around it, just do it.
Because that's the cowardly thing of like, if you want to see it, we'll let
Right.
you do it.
Right.
But if you don't want to see it, that's fine too.
That's fine too. Yeah.
Good people on both sides.
Right. Yeah, like that was fun 30 years ago.
Yeah.
When that felt edgy.
Right.
That
Right.
to even flirt with the concept, but now it just feels cowardly.
It does. I agree. And I think they hinted at a relation, an attraction between her and Thor when, there's that scene when they're going to go kill Thanos. Thor calls his hammer and it like whizzes right past her head and she doesn't break eye contact. And he was like, all right, like I'm into this one. Like this one's all right. So the Kree end up taking out this planet and we find out that what they're doing is they're siphoning off one specific resource per planet. So they siphon off like the air, I guess, which was the like water and fire. Okay, I can get behind that, but I'm like, how do you siphon off air? I don't know.
I guess there's
Giant balloon.
you hit the bracelet in a certain spot to pick a certain thing,
And that's what you get.
Also, I know she's targeting planets that Carol cares about, but it also seems like wasteful when I'm going to go to the one planet because it's 99% water, and then I'm going to go to Earth to get the sun, and I'm like, well, we're 70% water.
Yeah,
like,
right.
couldn't you just kind of like, while I'm here,
Right.
I'm just going to go ahead and
take them both.
Take them both. Right.
This is not a complaint of the movie, but I was thinking, well, if that planet's 90% water, how big is Hala? Could we take 20%? Like, what are we doing?
Right.
And then when the portal
What if we took 20% from the water planet and 20% from Earth?
from Earth, I'm sure now that's going to cause problems for sure. But maybe we can all.
You've got Avengers. You'll be fine.
The project manager in me has
When that portal opened and
the
started
Gantt chart.
sucking up the ocean, I was like, oh well, this is nothing. This is like a straw. This is like a drop in the ocean,
Right.
Like, and she did open up a few more, but it was still like,
Yeah. You're not going to get enough, man.
there's no way.
No.
This isn't going to
That
work.
portal's not nowhere near big enough.
Aren't you going to need some fresh water?
Isn't it freshwater?
In the ocean?
Oh, it's saltwater.
Right.
Well, they're smart.
She opens a salt portal that sucks.
Yeah, There's a
She
filter
goes
on the
to
portals.
planet of desalination.
Yeah.
So while all of this is going on, we learn that Monica has developed powers. We saw that in WandaVision. Monica does become a character. They hint at her name, but her name is Photon. Like, that's what her name is in the comics. She does become Captain Marvel at one point in the, like, 80s Avengers, like that Avengers team that was like Jack of Hearts and Firefox and like, just like we're scraping the barrel.
And if you don't see the Jack of Hearts show, forget it. You're not going to have any idea.
What if I played bridge? Would that help at all?
Maybe.
Okay.
If you don't understand bridge when you watch the show, you're not going to get the finale. He does this move that's like, whoa, man.
Oh, mind-boggling. So she has developed powers and she's working out in outer space. She's working with Sword.
I was thinking that version of Avengers with that lineup.
Yeah.
It's like that SNL cast after Belushi.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, you're calling it that.
Right. You might have like one or two guys
Yeah.
who were part of that team.
Charles Rocket as Jack of Hearts.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it was like Spider-Woman, but it wasn't, Jessica Drew or, White Vision was on that team. So, and now Monica has avoided Carol at all costs. And it sounds like Carol may have tried to talk to her, but she was just kind of like, no thanks.
I don't know. I got the feeling that they were both avoiding each other.
Well, I just think the way that Carol reacts, where she's like, "Oh, she's there. Can I talk? Like, yeah, I'm going to patch it through." And she was like, "Sure." And then obviously that didn't work.
Yeah.
So we do kind of learn that there's some resentment, and we learn why, like Matt said, where it's like, you were supposed to be here for me. And she says, "But I had planets to save." Sorry. So they kind of, and then they add Kamala to the mix. So now you've got these the Marvels, which is who they are, and they realize that they have to work together. That this supreme leader from the Kree is destroying these planets, and that she has what they call a quantum band, what Miss Marvel calls a bangle, and if they get these two bands together,
Her superpower is to walk like an Egyptian.
that's right. That is correct. If these two bands come together, basically the Kree win. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop them. It's kind of the Infinity
nothing's going to
Gauntlet.
stop them now is Jefferson's Starship.
Oh, I was like,
Yeah,
Queen.
that's not Bangles.
That can't stop me now, but
Yeah.
it's close enough. Just blow your mind right there. So, and this does become a little bit of a stripped down Marvel movie where it's just characters. Like, we're just dealing with Carol and Monica and everybody's feelings with each other. And finally they do have that moment where we get the team kind of,
And I'll take this over a DC movie that's just blown up.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'll take blowing up, but if you can give me some character
I'd
stuff
like to
in
know
there,
why I like to care that it's blowing up.
yeah,
right?
exactly. So they go to this next planet, and this is the most like this scene, and like, I don't mind the scene, but it also doesn't feel like it's from the same movie. Like, up until this point, not that we've been grounded, but not this wacky.
I definitely think it in this movie, in the world they've set up in this movie, the singing planet makes you go, how would that work? How do they, what,
Yes.
I mean, like in a musical, when they start the song, you don't think, well, how do they all know this song? It's a musical. I know how it works. But this isn't that.
This is how they talk.
So for a second, I'm
It
going.
was like all of a sudden it became Schmigadoon. Which is wonderful.
Maybe,
if
man.
You haven't seen.
I don't know what that is, but probably.
It's on Apple TV.
What is it?
It's on Apple TV. It stars Cecily Strong.
Oh, I do like her.
Yeah.
I know who that is.
And her and her fiance boyfriend fall into the town of Schmigadoon, and Brigadoon is a musical about a town like that appears once every 100 years, right? They fall into Schmigadoon, which is basically they fall into this musical, and it's all musicals like Rodgers and Hammerstein, The Music Man, that style of musical, and they're like stuck in this town and they're trying to get out, and it is so good.
Huh.
So good. And we're on season 2 right now called Schmakago, which has been good, but not as good. But,
Sure.
But Schmigadoon
where
is
it's at.
really funny. And even if you don't like musicals, because it's making fun of musicals.
I've heard that before.
Because it's making fun of them. Because they're all like, whenever anybody breaks in the song, they're like, "What is happening? Like, what is going on? This is so dumb."
That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
That's kind of how I felt in this scene.
I liked it because it stands to reason that different planets.
That is
would
true.
communicate
That is
different ways.
absolutely
And
true.
I dug it. I mean, it went on for me the exact amount of time it should go on for.
Sure.
I certainly don't want to see. They didn't leave me with like, oh, I wish I had 10 more minutes on this planet.
Her saying he's bilingual, leaving it at that, was
Perfect.
excellent choice.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And that does make me feel like when they're writing the script, they have a part where they're singing back and forth and they're like trying to figure it out and being like, you know what if just like
Yeah.
In the writer's room, he's bilingual.
That's
Oh,
great.
all right.
Yeah,
Perfect.
let's do that.
Thank
Let's do
you.
that.
Yeah, excellent idea. So that she goes to this planet and she does kind of have a moment where she's like, "Look, I'm somewhat of a celebrity on this planet," and I do like that Kamala's like, "You're a celebrity everywhere," and she's like, "Yeah, but this is a little bit different." And we find out that she helped the prince of this planet out by she married him, and now she's the princess of this planet. I do like that the uniform changed. I like the star is bigger. I like the new look of the uniform. So there is this massive musical number, and I mean, like,
May I complain?
yeah.
What we're here for.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the humor in this film disgusts me.
Oh,
Wow. That was a bold
oh
statement.
man.
Hate it. Not all of it. There's a couple, but here's the thing: when they're doing a joke, bilingual, that's a joke, right? Like that's a funny thing. Most or a lot of the jokes in this movie are people going, "Yeah, I'll just stand over here," and like, that even has its place. That can be funny, kind of like when Carol falls out of the. Kamala's fallen, then she switches with Carol, and Nick Fury says a very like blasé reaction.
Does he
to it.
say, "Use your black girl powers"?
Not to Carol?
He says black girl magic.
Black girl magic. And I heard that line, and I was like, I mean, at least thank God it's coming out of Nick Fury's mouth.
Right.
Well, yeah. But that's a thing. That's
Oh, it is a
black
thing?
girl magic is like a movement
Okay.
group.
Well,
He says
like,
it
yeah.
as a joke, but
Yeah.
so much of it's just this sort of like, and a thing that it happens a lot to, or I feel like in the very improvised movies,
Sure.
where you lose the character to make jokes sometimes.
Oh, okay.
And one instance of this, and again, it's not like a huge thing. I'm just saying it's a lot of littles. They're walking into, and Kamala's dancing around, and she says to Carol, "Why aren't you dancing?" And Carol goes, "I am dancing." And you're like, okay, she's this stoic woman, wouldn't do this. Then she walks in a room and has a whole dance number with this guy. So it's like, oh, but to respect a culture, you would dance and be silly.
Correct.
But you just, for a joke,
Yeah.
implied you wouldn't do that. And I can't think of any other instances, but I do feel like that happens a lot. Late era Marvel movies, it happens in this movie where they're more concerned with doing the little like
Nod and a wink.
twinsies.
Yeah.
And then Carol's reaction to that, instead of being like, well, how would Carol react to this normally or something like that?
But yeah, I hear what you're saying. There were definitely, I don't know. It is hard to write, in my opinion, comedy. Like it's hard. I think making a comedy, I think, was probably harder than anything else because you don't know, with a comedian, with a stand-up comedian, they work for months and months and months on a tight 10 or an hour special. It is like, okay, that joke worked, that joke didn't, this joke kind of got a laugh, so if I can refine that with a script, you just got to hope that it hits. And if it doesn't hit, we're going to the next one. That's why I think Deadpool is so effective, is because if a joke doesn't work, there's another one right behind it, and that one might work. And that one's so fast. So I do think that it's hard to make a comedy work when your character, especially like with Captain Marvel, where this entire time we've seen her, she is this stoic, badass pilot, and that's to me not Carol. Like the Carol that I read in the comics does have a softer side. She has friends, like she's friends with She-Hulk or Spider-Woman, like she's got friends that pop up all the time, and she has this softer side. And when you have to switch that character real fast to make her not the asshole to this 16-year-old girl, I do think that could be a little tough.
And it feels a lot of the time to me like they're going to get to the other side, and then 5 minutes later they're going, well, to get to the other side. They're like, you did this joke. Why are you doing this again?
Yeah, they're living very much scene to scene sometimes.
And you did this in Ragnarok already.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You've done this joke like so many. I mean, you're right that was Peter Parker's whole thing. I'm a fanboy, and clearly we're supposed to have watched all of these movies.
I think Kate Bishop was the same way. Kate Bishop, when she meets Hawkeye, is like nerding out over Clint Barton.
Again, I mean, I am being nitpicky, and like obviously characters are going to share traits, but
well, no, I'm saying like I don't think you can complain about not you.
I can go, buddy.
Yeah, challenge accepted.
I just don't. I think the complaint about Kamala fangirling over Carol is ridiculous, because you didn't complain about it when Peter did it. You didn't complain about it when Kate did it. So why is this any different? They're basically, they realize that they've lost the Kree show up to this water world, and Carol thinking she can do it on her own fails, and they destroy this. They destroy this planet. I guess this planet dies.
I guess they're done for.
Yeah, they blow this one up, and this is where Carol and Monica kind of have their heart to heart, where she's just like, you left us, you left me, you never came back after Mom died, yada, yada, yada. And I do like that they use the mind meld to, to finally, like, it's basically the conversation that they needed to have, where it's like, the reason you stayed behind is because I killed the Supreme Intelligence. I destroyed this planet, and I've been trying to fix it ever since. I just never came back.
I also did. Adding that layer that it was because of this specific mistake I made.
Right.
Whatever. I didn't. I mean, I was fine with it. You had a bunch of work to do, and you couldn't focus on your personal relationships.
Right.
She's
a workaholic.
But I guess that makes it more streamlined. To then
I think it keeps it in the Captain Marvel world,
and in this particular film, right?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Why she's still so focused on what we're doing right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they do get their new suits. I dig the way they all look. I think they're all pretty comic accurate, which is a thing for me. Like, sure. As I can accept the fact that Thor can't look like the comic version of Thor or Captain America, but these costumes can. Like the Captain Marvel suit is pretty accurate, and the photon suit is also pretty accurate. So they realize that the next place they're going to go is Earth, because they need the sun, and they're going to take Earth's sun. So they devise this plan. There's this whole subplot.
It won't be real stakes for film goers unless it's happening.
It's happening to them, happening to our planet. Yeah. So there's this whole subplot where Nick Fury is on this space station with Kamala's parents and her brother, which again, MVPs of the movie. I think the family's great.
I was really surprised that they were featured as much as they were.
Yeah.
I really thought when we saw them at the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of looping in from the show, and they're going to go away and we won't see them again.
Oh, can I complain about something?
Absolutely.
Another problem I'm starting to have with Marvel films is the sort of like, look, again, I get it, right? How strong are these people? How vulnerable are these people? You got to kind of be flexible with it. But Captain Marvel's punching these guys, right?
Captain Marvel went toe-to-toe with Thanos.
And she's punching these dudes on this ship and not blowing their heads up. It's a fight. It's pretty easy for her. But then they get transported to Kamala Khan's house.
Yeah.
And at one point, I believe her mom is holding him down with a mop.
Yes.
Well, this cannot be.
That's true. Yeah, it's very that is a comedic beat where it's like, I think what would have
For
been
the funny joke,
Yeah.
they will just calm down, Matt.
This is normally what I do.
I know, yeah.
they will let the reality of their world that they've built sort of drift apart.
Yeah.
So they can do this funny thing where she's holding them down with a mop.
I
That's
think the joke would have been funnier for me if she puts the mop like in his face and he's just like, "What are you doing?" Like this is, and then just kind of swats
and then
it
they
away.
do right after that or before it or whatever. They do a thing where one of them like hits him with something, and he like does the like turn like that didn't even affect
like
me.
a vase or
It's
something.
like now we're doing both things. Like which thing is the thing?
That's a good
I
point,
think
though.
what they don't tell you is that for this species, like mops are like their kryptonite.
See, that's all you have.
See,
If you
Oh,
had
it's
read
like-
if you had read issue 374,
Oh.
yeah,
It's in the show.
of
It's in the show.
of Avengers West Coast.
right,
Yeah.
you would know
West
these
Coast
things.
Avengers.
It's similar to Unbreakable. Water.
Right.
The water in the mop.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's all.
My
It's all
God.
it takes.
Like if you're not going to put
Drowns
in
them
the
in a puddle.
effort, don't go see these movies.
Yeah.
like
I'm
you
sorry.
need to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right.
Then the information is out there.
You just got to find
Right.
it.
Yeah.
You just got to find it. Yeah. So now our heroes are back on Earth. They have to. I should say there's a subplot where they're on the space station, and Nick Fury and the other like people that work for SWORD are finding these little pods. And initially, I was like, well, what the hell could that be? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even like. Okay, so we're dealing with like space time and alternate dimension. Like, what if? I was thinking of like what was that? Was it the Cloverfield paradox? Where like they're on that ship and the ship keeps like mutating around them.
I don't know.
I think that's what that is.
Sure.
And I was
Let's
like,
say
okay,
that's what it is.
space time, like the ship is being mutated, whatever. Well, it turns out that cat from the first movie has been laying eggs, and it's all these Flurkin. Thank you. All these Flurkin kittens, and it's a plot point that I think is really smart and pretty funny.
Yeah.
Where they realize that now that the Kree have shown up and they've taken out all of the electrical systems, they have to get off the space station, but they're down to like 2 shuttles and they don't know what to do. And they realize that the Flarkin, with the big tongue and the mouth, can eat everybody on the space station, and then they can put the cats into the pods. And I was
It's
like
their kitty stomachs are little TARDISes.
yes. And I go, as I'm watching it, I was like, this is hilarious.
I love this.
I
like
think this is
I-
great.
and I love the fact that like the Flarkin wasn't just introduced at the beginning of the movie to solve this problem.
Right.
Like this is a character, a creature that's been around for years now.
Right.
Yes.
And it's been
Gave Nick Fury a scar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that they figured they used this pre-existing power that they
Right.
have to solve this hyper-specific problem. They didn't write it backwards.
Sure.
Here's the problem. Let's create a solution and then set it up in the first act. This has been around for years, and they just kind of thought, it'd be fun. We could do this with it, and I like that a lot.
I think those eggs or whatever, it was one of the weird editing things. They show up so late in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
That you're like, you think, well, this is from, and maybe you're supposed to, I don't know, but think that it's from the Kree or something. Like if they had a thing pretty early, Nick Fury's going, did you figure out what's up with those eggs?
They do at one point. They find that one, and then all of a sudden they start like pinging all over the station.
Right.
And I was like, well, what, are they bombs?
But that's
like,
it already felt like too late.
It was
to,
late.
to introduce a B plot thing.
the Flarkin lays weird.
Just felt weird.
Viscous eggs.
Just a weird like movie language of like, well, if it's showing up now, this must be
Oh, I see what you're saying.
part of the main thing.
Right.
Whereas if like this was in like one of the first scenes, the first little drop, you would have like kind of been more like, what's going on with those egg different deal.
Do the old like the bomb under the table thing, the Hitchcock thing, where it's like, I'll show you the bomb under the table with a timer on it, and then I won't show it again, but that it's there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Although, now being like Matt, you got to ask, well, how come we haven't ever seen
That's true.
these eggs before?
Correct.
Right?
I mean, this cat's been around
Right.
since the 90s.
Right.
So I do like where Carol shows up on the thing and she's like, so we're literally herding cats, and he's like, yes. I was like, all right, and I was fine with it.
Yeah.
So they get the cats all in the pods, and they take the pods take off, and this is where our heroes kind of realize we've got to work together. She's got one of the bands. You've got one of the bands. So they have a pretty good fight sequence where they
the band all together.
get the bands together. Also, I'm pretty sure that those bands go to Quasar, who was one of my favorites from the Marvel cosmic stuff. So when they said quantum bands, I was like, oh boy. And I got nothing. So they all fight together, and of course, the Kree gets the upper hand. She's going to kill Kamala. She's got the hammer, Ronin's hammer, like attached to her head, and finally they give up. They give up the bands, the bangles, and she puts them on. And what she's trying to do, I guess, is just blow a hole to take out the Earth. I don't know what the hell. This is the one point where I was like, okay, so she was using the bands before to open portals to other worlds to take their resources. So what the hell was she trying to do here?
There's something like that. It wasn't enough for the sun, but it was working.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I don't know.
I don't know. But she does it and kills herself. Like disintegrates her. It's very much like the Gauntlet, where like Thanos' arm and the Hulk's arm are just kills Tony Stark. Like spoilers for Endgame. Sorry.
Spoilers for the most popular movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so she disintegrates, and just now our heroes. This is that scene you're talking about where they have to figure out, because now that she's gone, their powers are no longer entangled, so they can kind of do whatever they want. And they realize that that Carol and Kamala have to infuse Monica with their powers.
The same amount of power that was used to open.
Correct.
The portal.
And since Monica can absorb light, like she can do it. So she goes, they load her up. She flies through the portal and she's starting to close it. And as soon as she's flying through it, I was like, okay, like this is what we're doing.
Right.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can do whatever you want at this point. So she's closing the portal. Carol realizes that she's going to get stuck on the other side. And she can't get there in time. And Monica says, I knew this was going to happen the whole time. And she closes the portal. And that's what we think is going to be the last we see of Monica Rambeau. No. So Carol flies back. They, at one point earlier,
inexpensive actors don't die.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, right. Brie Larson,
At the end of a 5-picture deal, she might die.
talk to RDJ
Yeah.
about that.
In fact, at the end of a 5-picture deal, very likely they will die.
Yeah.
Unless you're Tom Holland. Tom Holland, I mean, Lord knows how many. He's like, can I sign on for 15 more?
I think he's smart enough to be like, you know what? I'm going to
Let's
ride
ride
this train as long as you will let me.
Can I do other bad movies in between?
Yeah.
Yeah, bud, go for it.
Yeah, because they don't need him so much that it precludes him from doing other work. So,
No.
like, okay.
He's like, I'm sure Feige's like, can you not do another Cherry? That'd be great.
Yeah.
Please, Jesus. So earlier in the movie, Monica does say to Carol, look, you can do this. Like, you can restart their sun. And there was a moment where I was like, she's powerful enough to restart the sun? Like, holy.
Well, a son. Maybe their son is
That's fair.
Is strong as ours.
Is not as strong as ours.
Yeah.
That's possible. So, Kamala lands on Earth and she has a moment and again, I do feel like there's a character shift for her where she's not joking. She's not laughing. Like, she's solemn and she's like, we lost Monica and where's Carol?
Like, she realizes it's not all fun.
Yeah, this is
Right?
not a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she meets with her parents and everybody's happy. The Flurkins start puking up sword workers, which I think is a funny gag in the background.
I thought I liked that they were getting airsick as they were.
I did.
And they started throwing. I
was like,
really
oh,
thought they
man.
were going to do a Marx Brothers stateroom thing.
Same.
When they opened the escape hatch on Earth, that there was going to be just like hundreds of people crammed and they're falling out like a Great White
Or just
concert.
a mess of blood and meat.
That's also, I was like, man,
Like
they're
a
gonna
Great
get
White
like a
concert.
Great White concert.
Yeah.
So then we see Carol flies to Hala and she reignites their sun.
She's literally a hollaback girl.
She is a Hollaback girl.
Yeah.
She does return and she reignites their and I guess the Kree's like, thanks. I guess we're good.
I've got.
Thanks for finally thinking of that.
Yeah, really. Like, you could have just done that.
You've been like making us breathe this toxic air for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Carol.
It's This part I might full on complain and say is bad. Like
I think that
she goes, Monica's like, you could probably restart it. She's like, well, I've never tried that before.
Hey, where the hell have you been?
Sounds hard. I don't know.
That's like that scene in Happy Gilmore. He's like, where are you on that one? Jackass.
Sometimes you just don't think of certain things, you know?
That's true.
I was going to get the car washed yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, I want a soda. And I was like, and I normally just pour soda in a cup like you got right here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I was like, oh, if I pour soda from the 2 liter in the cup, then now when I go to clean the car, there's going to be a cup in the car. Or I'm going to have to take the cup out of the car. I just won't take a soda. On my way back from getting the car clean, I'm like, I have cans of soda. Why did I not grab a can of soda?
You need a Monica Rambeau in your life.
Right.
That's
I
true.
do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so when she like totally brain farts,
Yeah.
like I have the power to restart a sun.
Uh-huh.
I get it.
Whoops.
I get it.
But Carol,
bad.
one of your powers is creating water for a planet. Oh God,
Son of a bee.
You're right.
Why didn't I think about that? Yeah. So then we see that the Khans have been moved since their house got destroyed into Monica's old house in Louisiana.
Is that who was?
That's
I couldn't
Carol.
tell.
I think they're helping Carol.
I think
move.
they're helping Carol move in.
Oh,
I was confused about that as well, and I landed on Carol's moving into that house.
Okay.
Because that house is in Louisiana.
Right.
That's what I thought.
And they're in New Jersey. So, like, yes, it's nice to have a house, but everything else about your life
Is in Jersey.
in New Jersey.
But their house is destroyed.
Yes. I mean, it was. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a superhero around somewhere that can be like,
Oh.
fixed it.
Well,
Done.
you've been-
Oh, Cersei from the Eternals. She can fix it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Exactly. Talk to Kevin. He'll tell you all
Yeah.
about it.
No.
So
Like,
and
I'll
then,
watch this over Eternals any day
a
of the week.
million times.
Any
a
day of the
million times.
That's why you can't have them on these episodes.
That's
it's all Eternals
Yeah,
talk
it's all
the whole
bright.
time.
It's about So there, and I do like that Carol has a Bengal and Kamala has a Bengal. So then obviously they know like we can't put these two. Did you see what it did to that gal? Like it disintegrated her.
Although Kamala used it just fine.
That's true. She did use them just fine. Maybe
Well,
it's all
doesn't it
about-
end with her having both? She's got them both now. I thought.
No, Carol's got when they're sitting in the airplane.
Yeah.
At the very end, Carol's got one, and she's got and
Oh, okay.
Kamala's got one.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Nobody does. So then the first post credit sequence, Haley Steinfeld walks into her apartment from the Hawkeye TV show, and it's almost the exact same scene from Iron Man, where you see a character sitting in the shadows and says, Kate Bishop, like yada yada yada, and they are putting together the Young Avengers, which I think is I mean, they've got
to. This has got to be a TV show, right? They don't really think that they can carry a film.
I have no idea.
And I mean,
Well, but is Spider-Man their leader? You know what I mean? Like that's right. How you make it a movie, right? You have
okay,
Oh,
yeah, that's
somebody-
fair.
I
Yeah.
could see that
Yeah, if you get a big enough.
to be
Yeah.
the head of the Young Avengers.
Like you worked with Tony and
Yeah.
them, and you're the youngest. Something
But it'd be
like
hard to get Spider-Man just because I don't know that Sony would want to do
Oh,
that.
sure.
oh,
Right.
that's fair.
Just, behind the scenes drama.
Who
But
knows?
I just assumed they were setting up a Disney Plus
They could.
show. This
That's
feels
possible.
very
So you're
Disney
going to
Plus.
have the Young Avengers in the comic book is Stature, who is Cassie Lang, who we have seen already.
Yeah.
Kate Bishop, Hawkeye. The twins from WandaVision,
Oh, can't wait.
Wiccan and whatever.
Love those little guys.
Wiccan and Whacken.
Wiccan and Whacken.
Yeah.
The fun one is Iron Lad, who is an alternate version of Kang, who we have also seen. We may not see Jonathan Majors anymore, but that the Kang character,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe this is a way to get yourself a different Kang.
Or you make him Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Like
You're also, we've established a Hulk son.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's right. We did, didn't
Yeah.
we? Oh, man, I forgot about that.
Well, just kind of go like, oh, and by the way,
Yeah.
It was my kid. Also, I'm trying to think who else is on that team. It's, it's did anybody watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That was good.
The original captain, the old black
oh,
dude,
right.
Yeah.
his grandson is the Patriot, who
Oh, that's
was
right,
also
yeah.
part of the Young
But
Avengers.
they'll do Ironheart, right? Like that's
They have to. Yeah, she would absolutely be on that team. So they are setting that up. And then like I think Vision was like their leader, kind of like their mentor, I think. I'd have to,
oh yeah.
That-
Where's
that-
he been?
That might be a problem.
Not if you use the white vision.
Okay, yeah.
He flew away.
Of course he did. Yeah. Just have him like be like the bodyguard. And I think that's fun. Like I think Haley Steinfeld is great. I think she's great in that character.
I liked when she was like putting together a team of kids or whatever. And she's like, I'm 23.
Yeah. She's like, where did you get that thing? She's like, they left it on my couch.
Well, I was looking at ages. Like, I think Tom Hiddleston was like 29 in the first Thor.
Oh, was he really?
Was he?
That's something I read. Look, I read it was a little, but like, right? These young Avengers. I mean, it's going to be 3-4 years before they.
Right.
Which it's movies. You act a little younger, but it is funny that it's like, well, they weren't like old,
Right.
And then the big one, which I think I said to somebody, I was like, look, to me, these two post-credit sequences feel like old school Marvel, where it's like, holy like I did not see this coming.
I don't feel like the post-credit sequences have really mattered dramatically in a long time.
Yeah.
And this
one,
But
this last one is big.
Go ahead.
So
then I'll complain after.
there's
we appreciate your patience.
So Monica wakes up in a hospital room and we know that she's in a different reality. We know that because she was on the other side of that.
Because they said she's in a different reality.
She's on a different side of that wall. Yeah, right. So she turns to her side and there's the actress that plays her mom. And I meant to say earlier, there's a great line that references Doctor Strange where Carol says to Monica's mom, she's like, it shouldn't have been me. Like, you should have been Captain Marvel. And then we see in the Multiverse of Madness, she is Captain Marvel.
right.
Which I was like, okay, that's kind of fun. Like, that's a good little throwback. Well, in this one, we see her again, and she's sitting there, and Monica snaps up. And she's like, Mom, oh my God, I can't believe I missed you so much. And the woman is just like, what are you talking about? Like, what's going on? Who are you? And then you hear a very distinct voice from the background, and the camera pans, and there's Beast. Not in makeup, which is okay because the CG was pretty good. Voiced by Kelsey Grammer. So the X-Men are here in some form.
I guess. I mean, we already saw Professor X
in Multiverse of Madness.
But that was like in a multiverse. Of course,
but
I
this
guess also
is too,
this
right?
is as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, this is a universe where it's like Roger Rabbit or something. Where cartoons exist in the real world.
Right.
It really feels like this is designed for them to make X-Men movies, but not pull them into the MCU.
But that's. I guess that's what I'm saying. Is that to me, this doesn't mean anything because it totally can just be.
Could just go away.
Whatever.
To me, it's the X-Men are here in some form, right? We're gonna have Deadpool later this year.
Isn't that multiverse? I
don't know.
I feel like the Professor X thing and this thing are literally the same meaning. Until they're not,
right,
but like right now, there's nothing to take away from it other than the X-Men exist in other.
I guess the difference is that we're leaving a character from the MCU in this world, so they
have to interact with this again.
There's connective tissue in a way where Multiverse of Madness was more like in a world of infinite possibilities. Sure. There's a thing over here that looks like this. Where now we've taken a character from this world and put it in that world,
and those people are dead,
and we haven't addressed what happens to her. So surely in another film,
we're gonna get the X-Men
potentially. But I also think that. You're not wrong that if they decide to never go back to this again,
I think that's true. If they never reference it again,
they have not truly set a plan in motion in the same way that like Nick Fury and Captain America.
And I don't love the idea that the X-Men would be from a different universe.
Agreed.
That's weird.
I really thought this was going to be bringing the X-Men in, that they were going to bring in a whole new group of actors to play them.
I did as well.
Yeah,
sure.
Sorry, Kevin. They've themselves with Wolverine.
Yeah,
they had an opportunity to cast somebody else as Wolverine, and they didn't do it. And they've got Hugh Jackman coming back,
which I get, and I think
absolutely get it.
And I think what's going on is they're seeing diminishing returns on these movies.
Oh, sure.
And so they're like, look, we've got nostalgia over here. So
Yeah.
what happens if we take the actors you love as these characters, but actually, hopefully, put them in good movies?
Yeah.
And I guess, right, it could be that Beast contacts the MCU.
Which
Beast
if it's
and
if it's anybody in Marvel, it's Beast, right?
Right,
Beast
right.
or Reed Richards or like those that character. If they're going to focus on Hank McCoy, he's the one that's going to do it, right? He's the smartest of all of them. So I could see him being like, I got to reach out to that version of Hank
But
McCoy.
I also think maybe it's just as simple as Kevin Feige wants to pull those movies in because that's where he cut his teeth.
That's true, but I
know?
will say
He wants that to be part of his MCU legacy as well.
maybe don't do that.
I don't.
There's
I'm
there's
not
more
interested.
misses than hits in those.
Yeah, I mean,
X-Men
there are
movies.
some that are really good, and there are some that are not good
Right.
at all.
I am, and this is a personal thing, and I think you're right that nostalgia is more powerful than people that wanting to see new things, right?
Right.
But I don't. I'm much more interested in like going to see a movie and seeing like, oh, what's the new Wolverine gonna be like?
I don't
rather
disagree
than
with
seeing
you.
Hugh Jackman in a thing that feels like it doesn't matter,
Right.
Right,
But we
Like,
don't know yet.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm saying like if they make a new Wolverine movie with Hugh Jackman and he's getting pulled into this, now it just all feels. I've liked that up until this point because people have said like, well, now anyone can die and they'll just pull in another version.
right,
They
right.
haven't really done that, right? It's been like
No, they haven't. That's true.
They've
You're-
resisted that.
Loki's maybe the only one. I mean, that's a different
It's a different timeline.
guy, but like they've been clear about that. And
Yeah.
so in with
WandaVision?
what was it? Oh, Gamora.
Oh, sure.
Very like no, we're not just pulling in another Gamora. She's dead. This is a different person.
Yeah.
Um.
And they resist the idea of making her into the old Gamora.
Right.
and
they
so-
could have very easily been like, they were always destined to be in love.
Right,
Correct.
right.
And they
Correct.
and they didn't.
And they do kind of hint at that, but she also leaves.
right.
But doing a thing where it's like, well, now the X-Men, we got them, we brought them in, and we can do. It's starting to get like, I don't know. I mean, that's different than a character dying or whatever, but it still just feels like. Well, this won't even be their world. That what stakes did they like
True,
when
true.
Ant-Man goes to Quantumania and like I don't care what happens here. Kill the water world.
Yeah.
But I also the other thing is we see that her mom is binary.
Is some lady in a suit
Who's in
that
the, binary is Carol Danvers after she like loses her
Yeah.
powers in the comic books. She's wearing the right costume.
It's so funny when she stands up in that suit,
And they make it-
I, as a guy who I feel like I know a little bit about comic stuff, I'm going. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know. Crystal at the end of these, I was like, now who's
Who's
that?
that?
And it's gotten to the point where I'm like, honey, I have no idea.
That
anymore.
is-
they've gone through the tiers of superheroes that I know.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
at this point, like I need like the who's who manual.
That's fair.
To
Yeah,
Because
know
I
what
even
I've seen.
right like the Peter Quill helmet, I knew that.
Yeah.
I didn't read any Guardians of the Galaxy, but I was like,
one of my
okay,
favorites. I
I've
love it so
seen that.
much.
I've seen that. This thing, I'm like, oh boy, it's not Storm, but I.
Well, that was I gotta tell you, that was I thought I got spoiled because somebody posted like a screen grab of what I thought was someone walking across screen in the white Storm
Right.
outfit, and I was like, oh, damn it, I didn't. And then man, I gotta tell you though, I think Kelsey Grammer as Beast is one of the best casting choices they
yeah.
ever did, and hearing his voice again in that that look, it's not that outfit because that's CG, but
Yeah.
There is a thing too of just like, how many movies are you gonna get out of Kelsey? Grammer?
Yeah, like another reason to recast is it's cheaper.
yeah. Well, you
and
had Nicholas Holt.
and you can lock them in.
Yeah, right.
You had Nicholas Holt as the young Beast. I mean, if
But
you're
don't do that either. Don't do that either.
but if you're gonna do a CG Beast, and he's just doing voice work,
Yeah.
I mean, let's do that shit over the phone.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
probably only have to pay him like a third.
Yeah, right.
You know? But I also wonder, like, okay, if this is the road we're going down, who is our Charles Xavier?
Yeah,
Sure.
that's a good question.
You know, because they've got two of them.
And the one is real old.
Yeah, and I mean, he seems to be in great health.
Yeah.
But, like, same thing with Magneto, right? Like, where
You
like,
got two of
which-
them.
Which one you pick?
Yeah.
Fastbender.
Yeah.
That's the one you're picking.
I mean,
you get them both in there, and all of them, and the one from the cartoon comes in too.
Which cartoon?
Did you guys
Yes.
ever play the arcade game? So it's the pixel version in the movie.
But X-Men have always had Wolverine, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Beast. All those those characters have a soft spot in my heart. Like those are some of my favorite characters.
You know what else too? I was thinking, and there's nothing they can really do about it. But a lot of the excitement kind of is gone for me because it's like, well, I'm not going to see Wolverine hang out with Iron Man. You know what I mean?
But you could get Wolverine and Spider-Man.
That. Well, sure, but that first,
I can't help but think as when they start seeing like the box office on this is abysmal, which is unfair.
It is very unfair
because Eternals should have had this kind of box office, and this
Black Adam should have had this type of box office.
Yeah, like this movie was fun.
Yes.
It's not without its problems for sure. Like but like
You think you back a truck up and be like, "Hey, Chris. Hey, Rob.
yeah,
Can you come back?"
I think those conversations are absolutely happening right now.
I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
As much as I think Chris Evans,
it would right the ship, but it's a short-term fix.
yeah. I think one of the things that DC Comics has always done, but Marvel never really did, is they built up the legacy character. Mm-hmm. So you have Wildcat 1, Wildcat 2, different iterations. You have different guys that can wear the cowl. There's different, Superman can be his son. It could be the clone. It could, you've got these different options, different Green Lanterns, all that stuff, where I do feel like Marvel hasn't really ever done that. There have been people who have popped in as Captain America,
But they never stay.
And
Which I always thought was weird anyway. I'm like it's just a drawing of a guy in a suit. Like, what do you care what his name is?
You had an opportunity with both Sam, and Sam is your Captain America for now. We've got New World Order coming out this year, I think. I don't know.
I think it just got
Did it get pushed back?
actually,
Okay.
but-
So you've got Sam and you've got Bucky, who are both your options for Captain America. Would I love to see Chris Evans come back? Absolutely. That guy is amazing as Captain America. But there comes a point where you just have to move on. And you have to be able to build those different actors into those characters.
Because when you cast Chris Evans, nobody cared.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
When you cast Robert Downey Jr., nobody cared.
Literally nobody.
People
nobody
were
knew.
like, really?
Yeah, nobody knew who Chris Hemsworth was.
You're going with the drug addict? Like, that's,
No,
like,
absolutely.
I mean,
That's why when I see people bitching about Nia DaCosta, and you're just like, how are you gonna like the underperforming director of the underperforming Candyman? It's like, that movie made like $80 million on like a $25 million.
What are we talking about?
So like when we talk about directors and the casting of those original MCU characters,
But what movie?
Candyman,
No, but what?
the remake of Candyman,
That's insane.
directed
Candyman
this.
was great.
I thought
loved
it was a lot
Candyman.
of fun.
Yeah,
it was, but it's like this is what Marvel does.
yeah.
When you get Jack Johnson and Kenneth Branagh and who else was it? Joss Whedon, who wasn't like he was a name, but he didn't have a bunch of wins under his belt.
He was a TV name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they say that they, I can't believe they trusted a $250 million movie to somebody that
Or John
flopped.
Favreau.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
right.
Yes.
Like, who would have thought John Favreau would make a good superhero movie?
The Russo
Oh
brothers.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
They done the Lego movie. Was there?
No.
No, what did they-
Marley and Me or like Community.
They had done episodes of Community, and they did You, Me, and Dupree.
That's what You, Me, and
yeah,
Dupree.
yeah.
It's like, are you telling me that Feige knew
Right.
that these guys would
Well,
make?
their Community episodes were good sizzle reels for...
Well,
Because they had done, I think, like the paintball episode or
Oh,
something.
okay.
They had done something that was very kind of like action movie parody.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that probably... I think it was probably the Community episodes, even though that's counterintuitive.
The guy that directed Spider-Man. The
Yeah.
3 Spider-Man movies. Like that, you're telling me that off of the movie Cop Car, they knew that he was going to be a solid hand behind
But
the
that's
camera.
the thing too. Of like, I think that viewers have to. Well, they never will be, but they should be smarter about these. People should understand that it's not one person. Was
No.
Cop Car well directed? Yeah, or I don't know. I've never seen it.
was
But
good.
you
I
know what I
liked it.
mean? Like you could watch.
And, it's not only was Cop Car well directed, it's how smooth did the set
Right,
run?
right.
Did he
Sure.
bring it in on time? Was it on budget?
And-
there are other aspects, and a lot of the more complex aspects of these Marvel movies are not being handled by the director.
No.
The director is not handling the action scenes in a lot of these
And
movies.
that's like if somebody said from this movie, well, do you think the director was good? I don't think I'm smart enough to really, but I think I would probably go, yeah, I think the scenes were good.
Yeah.
I think the editing was bad. There's
that's not on her.
different element. And so, yeah, if they like hire the editor from this movie, I might go, well, hold on. But then again, I think you're right. I think this was a much longer movie that the editor had to cut down. So maybe that's not even on them,
Maybe
maybe
they tried to do the best they could with what they had.
in the fight scenes, I knew what was going on, and it's three people switing places.
big win.
Yeah.
So maybe the editing is good, and,
Right.
right. It is interesting. These I don't even know what you call them, idiots,
Neckbeards.
that just think they know more than these professional. And I get it. These professionals make bad choices a lot, but it's also human beings doing things, and you got to make a choice.
And you have a lot of moving parts
So,
on a
yes.
movie like this because it's also like, oh no, that's a great line, but it completely negates this TV show we're going to make
Correct.
in 2 years.
Right.
And so
and
we
you
can't
know,
do that.
I also don't want to do that thing. I just read a quote from someone. I feel like
Zack Snyder?
I want to say it was George Carlin, but that doesn't sound right. But they were like, I never say a movie's bad because so many people worked on it and put their heart into it. It's like, dude, okay, movies are bad. Relax.
We're not on your work, but it's not a good movie.
It's
not
just-
this one. This one's
Yeah, sometimes you work hard on stuff and it's bad, and it's fine to say it's bad.
What did
too.
we always said? It's just as easy. It's just as hard to make a good movie as it is a bad one.
It's amazing that we ever get a good movie at
Right.
all.
Right.
Like there's
Or just a movie. at all.
right. There's so many moving parts that go into making something good.
Right.
It's surprising we've ever gotten any classic films because it's not easy to do.
Not easy to do.
It's not easy to do. And it's not easy to make a movie that 20, 30, 40, 50 years later is still good.
That's a good
that
point.
With a modern
The
eye
longevity.
still works. Like that's really
Yeah.
hard to pull off. And sometimes like I remember sitting down with my son and watching Butch Cassidy and like he got sucked in and was like, that's a good movie. And I'm like, because every scene works. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like a series of mini films and like
The Sting is the same way.
yeah, absolutely. Like every line of dialogue is great.
You're hooked in.
Yeah, and you're just immediately sucked in, and it never lets you
Man,
go.
we watched Strangers on a Train.
Yeah.
not
So
too long
wonderful.
ago.
So wonderful.
And it's so funny how a wipe will happen or something that dates it,
Oh.
and you go, oh yeah, this is before they knew that looks dumb or whatever.
yeah.
because it's. I mean, that's a great movie,
fantastic movie.
and fairly unique still. I guess I don't know. It's interesting to see great ideas and innovations people had that haven't been copied.
Sure.
It's been
to
copied
death.
at least once.
Sure, but I mean,
I throw Mama from the train.
Yeah, right.
Is Strangers on a Train.
That's so strange.
I don't know. It's just such a.
but yeah, it's not an idea that's been beaten to death. For
Right.
such a high concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21, and on Letterboxd at the same.
This is Matt. You can find me at. I comment on Joe's letterbox, so just look in the
that's right.
comments
That's
of
right.
that,
Yeah.
and you'll find kind of what I think
I
about
love
what
it.
he thinks.
I love it.
And this is Tom. You can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. So this is, you can find the show online, facebook.com/Real Spoilers while you're there.
the
like
clip
the
out.
page. Join, the clip out. Also, while
That one
you're
doesn't
there,
need any press. Stop. That one.
like the page, join the group, do all the things. So anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Patty and Canoe make up.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you.